All right, and welcome to the God's Business Podcast. My name is Jonathan. I am your host. And today in this episode, we're joined with Madison Haley. We had an episode with her husband not too long ago, which you can probably check out on some of the videos before. But her company is called Laney and Maddie Co. And what they're doing is building a business not just online, but on the newest and up and coming Whatnot platform. And so what we're going to talk about is, how she even started, what that journey is like. But the premise of this podcast, if you're new, is to discuss and bring on entrepreneurs of faith to talk about how God works in their life and how God works in their business. So, Madison, it's a pleasure to have you here today. How are you doing today?
Yes, I'm great. How are you? Super excited.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Madison, I know that we had a little bit of an opportunity to meet before, actually, when
Mhm.
you were in Orlando.
Yes.
So your Tyler, he came on the podcast earlier in Orlando. We were not able to schedule while your trip here, but I'm super excited to at least talk with you here today now.
Yes.
But for somebody who doesn't know you, doesn't know your business, and I probably butchered the name maybe, but why don't you tell me, what your business name is and what do you actually do?
Okay. So my business name is my name and my daughter's name. I have one daughter. It's the youngest. She's the youngest of four kids. So I have three boys, and I was postpartum with her. I was at home by myself. Tyler was super busy working. Um, And then I was scrolling on TikTok one day and Whatnot popped up, and this girl was doing a haul. And I was like, okay, I think that I have that app. Let me go just join in and see. Well, I joined a show. I absolutely fell in love with it. And then God was just like, this is something that you can do. And so that's how I started.
Okay. So so I know Whatnot is pretty new, right? In
Hmm.
comparison to, let's say, Facebook, right? Or
Hmm.
like all the bigger, older, old
Right.
school, even TikTok is sort of like getting up there. But Whatnot is pretty new for
It
in
is.
your interpretation. Can you help somebody who knows nothing about Whatnot? Like what is Whatnot? So
Yes.
all right. So we just had a little bit of a technical hiccup, but Madison, you were just telling me that Whatnot is a platform for sellers or people, typically just normal people, can go online and they can auction certain
Hmm.
items and you can build a community on that.
Right.
So we were just talking about how you sort of have a community yourself. And,
Hmm.
and that's what Laney and Maddie Co does on
Right.
Whatnot. And so how did you build that community? Where does that come from?
Definitely being in other people's shows. I mean, shows can range anywhere from 1 hour to, like, I've been in a 24-hour show before, so that's really cool. But, yeah, just being in the rooms with the other people and talking to them and, connecting with them, and I've gotten lucky to the point now where I've shown up for people, so they show up for me in my shows, and it's been really cool. I couldn't have
Wow.
asked for better, honestly. Yeah.
So you're building a community directly on Whatnot.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so that's amazing. And so what kind of items are you even selling?
Well, I do women's fashion, but
Okay.
there is toys, there is electronics, there's skincare, beauty. I mean, you can basically find anything on Whatnot, and these are all like higher end brands. So, and I've gotten stuff for super cheap. So, Tyler can't be like, "Oh, you've spent so much money." And then he goes and he's like, well, wow, you got all this stuff and you only spent like $50. That's insane. So it's really, really cool. Basically, all my stuff is stuff that I have sourced from Whatnot just from watching, and then, or stuff that like I've bought and I can't wear. But yeah, that's really it. It's just a live auction, and you swipe until you win, and then it gets sent to your door, and it's really
Okay.
cool.
So
Yeah.
like what is it in increments of like a dollar, like everyone who swipes, or how does it work?
Yeah, people can start things at a dollar. And they have this thing called sudden death. So, like 10-second sudden death, you really just have to swipe for your life at that moment. But I have bought stuff for just a dollar, and I've bought stuff that has gone all the way up to $50, but it's really just about like the product and like how much you want it. My stuff,
Wow.
I don't really have bidding wars yet. I only have 1,500 followers, but I start my stuff at like $12, and that's usually what it stays at is about $12.
Wow. Okay. So it's basically like the newest and greatest form of eBay when eBay was a
Yes.
thing.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. That's pretty amazing. So I guess, are you selling, like you mentioned, women's fashion, right? Are you
Hmm.
selling like things that you've created yourself, your own products? Or are you selling like things that you found at like TJ Maxx, or like things in general? Like,
Right.
what are your thoughts?
I have a lot of like Airy American Eagle because people get those palettes. I have a bunch of like boutique brands. There's a company called Zanana. I have a bunch of it. So yes, it's basically stuff that you can find in stores that have somehow gotten onto a pallet or like Amazon returns or something like that, and then these people liquidate it and sell it.
Okay. Are these
Yeah.
new items or used items?
Mhm. Some items can be new. There are people on there that do strictly new stuff. I try to stay in the new tag area just to cover myself, but a lot of people do like thrifting. Like people will go to Goodwill and have like shows where they sell stuff that they found at Goodwill. So you're saving the earth and you're also getting to build a community. And yeah, so
Nice.
yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's so cool. And
Mhm.
so let me ask you, how did you even think about starting something like this?
Okay. I was at home postpartum. Actually, I guess I'll just start from the beginning. Just like my story, I guess. Okay, so
Sure.
I grew up in church versus my husband who didn't. I grew up in it.
Okay.
I was very involved with my church. Like that is, I guess you could say like my identity was the church. You know what I mean? But
Sure.
my perception of God was completely wrong. I thought it was like you had to be perfect or hellfire and brimstone. I grew up Southern Baptist. I went to
Mm,
Southern Baptist church camps. They're very much like you have to be perfect. I remember
mm,
being little and like my mom smoked cigarettes, and I would, if somebody from the church was coming over, I would have to like hide all the ashtrays, because I was just like, that's
okay.
bad. Like, you shouldn't
Sure.
do that. So we grew up there. I think I was about 14 years old. I got saved when I was like 7. So all the way up until I was about 14, I started leading a small group at my church for like teenagers. A lot of people were like saved through that, but I was miserable at the time. Like I was just so like heartbroken and sad on the inside because I was trying to be perfect and I was not perfect. We all aren't perfect. So I I lost my grandparents that like apart from each other that year. Two very, very important and close people to me. I lost them.
Oh,
And shortly after that, there was a fight within the church and that was just gone. Like it just crumbled. And I remember
wow.
after that, I was like very angry at God, right? I was like, I don't want anything to do with this anymore. Like, this sucks. This does not make me happy. I'm not fulfilled. And I think at that point, he was like, okay, let me show you who, like, I really am. So I did the typical teenage stuff, like all that. I met a boy when I was about 17, tried to be an adult. This boy had like things happen to him and all this other stuff. And I just tried to lead him to Jesus.
Uh,
That didn't really work. It just kind of like, whatever. But yeah, we were together for about a year. I was still in church at this point. Like we had found a new church, but I was never like involved in that church. I still go to this church today and I am involved now, but I was
okay.
not then. So I started dating him. And it was not a good relationship. He was not good to me then, but I ended up getting pregnant right before my senior year of high school. I
My,
do not
okay.
have that baby now. So people can make assumptions about what had happened, right? Essentially, I went to my mom, and I don't blame her for this now because I know that God was there and that this is something in my soul that I know that I had to go through, right? I did not have that baby. I did have an abortion.
Wow.
And
Okay.
after that, that like completely crumbled like everything. Like my soul was destroyed. I was like, if babies are a gift from God, then like, why? It was very, very hard. Me and that boy ended up splitting up. I was very depressed my senior year of high school, as you can imagine, because I was like, these people have no idea what I just did over the
Yeah.
summer. So I think that out of 180 days, I think I missed like 90 days my senior year. It's a miracle that I even graduated. But through that, I did get to go to like New York City, and I had another boyfriend at the time, and he was great. Like he really was a great person. He was there for me when I needed him the most. But let's say we dated for about 2 years. I graduated high school, I was in college, all these things, and I was still going to this church. Well, through that, the boy who I just had this crazy relationship, whatever, his mom would come to me every single Sunday and she would come up to me and she would hug me and she would be like, "How are you doing?" Whatever. And it would make me so mad. I'd be like, God, you like, this is what you put me through. And I remember after about 2 years, and me and this dude's relationship that I was in was not doing well because I was not happy. It just wasn't of God, I guess. I don't know.
Sure, sure.
But he told me, he was like, "Madison, I need you to go back." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "I need you to go back." I'm like, "Go back to the relationship that was bad for me?" And he was like, "Yes, I need you to go back." I was like, "Okay." Well, I went back. I ended up having two amazing little boys. They're perfect in every single way. I love them to death. Through that relationship, though, it was still terrible. I mean, he held that over my head. I don't blame him. I probably would have done the same thing. It just was not a good relationship, I think, because we had so much hurt that like we couldn't deal with, right? So, he did end up introducing me to drugs. That's okay. I think that this is another part of my story that had to happen.
Please.
So, a lot of things, like the worst you can imagine of a domestic violence relationship was that relationship. It was just terrible. And no good. So I remember through all of this, I can still say like God was 100% there. I knew who God was. I had this relationship with him. And just because I was running away does not mean that he was not there with me every single step. Like I know for sure that he was there. So I remember praying, I'm like, I want out of this relationship, but I had tried to leave so many times before and it just wouldn't happen. They say it takes like women 7 times to leave a domestic violence relationship. I believe that 100%. So I remember praying. I was like, if this is not of your will, which I don't want this to be of your will because this is terrible. I know that you have more for me. I was like, just make this relationship end. So I ended up getting arrested. He ended up getting arrested. I got out. He had to go serve 3 years in prison. And that's how I met my husband now. Through all of that, there's more to the story.
Sure.
did I did overdose twice. So let's just back it up. The night that I got arrested, it was the night before my grandmother's funeral. I did not get to go to her funeral. That was the grandma that I'm named after.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so earlier when I said my two grandparents that died within a week apart from each other, it was not these grandparents. These grandparents actually served prison time. And I think this is important in the
Okay.
story because they had to serve a lot of years in prison time. I think my grandpa did 17 and my nano did about 13 years. I believe that if they did not go to prison and do that, they did not break that, generational curse, whatever you call it, then I would have had to do the same thing. So I remember being arrested and being very upset that I was not going to make it to her funeral, that I was not there for my family, all of these things. And my mom just told me, she was like, "Maddie, I just want you to get better." She missed out on so much because she wasn't here and she just wants you to get better. But I didn't know what that meant because I still had like so much hurt. I was just very, very hurt and shame, like full of shame, full of regret, full of all these things. Like how do you even love me? I don't know. But I did. I got released to go to rehab the first time, straight out of jail. I remember I tested positive for COVID at
Oh, yeah.
rehab and I was locked into a room for 12 days by myself. Okay? I was the only one upstairs for 12 days all by myself.
Oh,
And I was like, what even? Well, there was a lot of time to talk to God in those moments, right? Not that I could hear him or not that I felt like he was listening. Well, there's this one night, I think it was about the 12th day that I was stuck in that room and I had tested positive for COVID twice. So God really wanted me to like sit my butt down so he could talk to me. That's all I could think of it to be. Like, what do you want from me? I had nobody else to talk to. So I did a lot of reading my Bible and all these things. But it was that 12th night, and this was about 10 o'clock at night. And the nurse that tested for COVID was supposed to come and test us so I could get out of quarantine, right? I was going like stir crazy. So she didn't end up showing up. And I remember seeing like the other people walking back from their nighttime meds. And I was like, great, I'm stuck here another day. They're not like they're coming back. She's not coming. Well, I remember in that moment, I looked up at God, like sitting in that big upstairs room by myself watching them walk back, and I'm like, "What do you want from me? Like what is it?" And nothing. But I remember falling asleep, and this woman came at like 10:30, 11 p.m. at night to test us. And that they're like, "This has never happened before. We don't know." So I knew at that point that I had felt better, and I was like, "Please don't let me have COVID anymore." And thankfully she tested me, but I didn't know the results till the next morning. Um, and I got to get out. Like, I ran downstairs, looked at the clipboard, saw that my name wasn't highlighted anymore, and was like, "Hallelujah, praise God." Um, so yeah, I think I had to stay like 35 days there, and that was all great. And then I got home and I met Tyler like a week later, but I still was very much hurt. I didn't believe a lot of, I just didn't believe him, I guess. I just been
Sure,
so
you've been through a lot.
miscontued. Yeah. So I ended up getting pregnant like a month into the relationship, and we weren't even together at the time. We'd broken up, and I was like just being still stupid, not doing what I was supposed to be doing, obviously. So yeah, I did end up overdosing twice. The first time he picked me up from the hospital and was like, I love you, like it's okay, like whatever. The second time he drove me to rehab the next day, and I've been clean and sober ever since. The second time that I went to rehab, I remember looking at Tyler in God, and I was like, "I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this is like, I'm done. Like, I would rather you kill me and take me out than ever have to do any of this again." So, yeah. And through all of that, I really had come like to the revelation that all of these things had to happen to make me into the person that I am today, because I was so judgmental of other people. Like, I was hiding cigarette ashtrays. Who cares? You don't have to not smoke cigarettes to get to the kingdom of heaven. That makes no sense. And he really just showed me who he was. Like,
Mhm.
he was like, "Madison, I'm not hellfire and brimstone. I'm very much just love. And I want you to choose me, free will choose me, not just because you have to choose me." So that's kind of, so I had Mason. He's perfectly healthy. He's almost 3. And I was pregnant with Lainey. And me and Tyler's marriage last year was very, very, just, it was hard because he was working a lot. I'm postpartum. He wasn't here. Like, he'd leave at sun up, go home till sundown. So, yeah, I was about, I think, only a month postpartum. And at this point, my 2 oldest boys' their dad is back in their life. He is remarried. I believe that they're doing really well. And I'm very thankful for that. And we do co parent, okay? Like, we're not, at each other's throats constantly or whatever, but very thankful for that. And I had child support or whatever. And I was just like, I got on that app, and I think God just really spoke to me and was like, "This is something that you can do." And so I think I did my first show in like September, and I've grown to over 1,500 followers now. And it's growing every single day. Yeah.
What a story. And hey, you did let me just
Yeah.
give you some kudos, right? You did an
Thank you.
amazing job to bring it from the question, which is
Hmm.
how did you end up getting on
Right.
whatnot? And you did an amazing job to pull it from your whole story.
Yeah, thank
Yeah, I
you.
will just show you. I have literally like notes on notes
Oh, I love
of
that.
things I just notated on everything you just said.
Hmm.
Can I summarize it for you? And you let me
Yes,
know if this is
absolutely.
accurate.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So one, first off, like, you're walking with God now. Everything
Hmm.
in the past that happened, it happens, right? I
Hmm.
get it. I mean, we all have our past, right? Before
Right.
we were born, before, Jesus takes us and to his covenant, before we
Hmm.
truly build a relationship with Christ and the renewing of our mind, and we, are reborn as a new person,
Hmm.
right? The past self was the past self. And today you're walking differently than you
Right.
were. Would you agree that today you're a different person than you were?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
And then would you credit that to God's power, or what do you credit that towards?
Oh, it's definitely God's power and not any of my own doing, because I would probably be dead if it was my own will. So, yes, absolutely Him.
Okay. So that is the premise of it all, right? Let's start with
Hmm.
that. That is a beautiful thing to see. But if I were to recap what you have gone through, and then we'll, to get to a point where you're going from, let's call it from high school to,
Hmm.
and how old are you now? Or
I'm 28, so I'll be 29 this year.
Okay, cool. So about
Mhm.
12 years
Mhm.
ish, right? Maybe more. So most of your life you've been a part of the church. Like you've been
Right.
a part of the Southern Baptist Church, where it was very strict, very rules heavy. It's
Right.
very judgmental in a way. Like a lot of
Yes.
potential false teaching, or a lot of
Mhm.
potential judgment was happening, and a lot of potential things were happening, right?
Mhm.
That you were so young. I mean, you were so young.
Mhm.
You didn't necessarily have that discernment. You followed your parents. You
Right.
followed the crowd, right? The broad
Yeah.
gate. Let's call it the broad gate. You followed the broad gate,
Right.
and hey, the broad gate. A lot of people go and say to Jesus, "Lord, Lord, I've done all these things in your name." But
Right.
do I
It's
know
not.
you?
Yeah.
Who are you? Right? That kind of
Right.
thing. And so, but you were at that gate your whole life, but you were doing
Mhm.
that, and then things started to crumble. If I
Mhm.
were to put it lightly, like you had a situation where you met a guy and then the death in your
Mhm.
grandparents, right? You met a guy, and then you had your first, you're pregnant, right? And
Mhm.
that was I mean, hey, like one
Yeah.
that right there alone
Mhm.
will just rock anybody's world. I get
Right.
it. You know,
Yeah.
I had my first son when I'm not a woman, I'm not a mother, but
Right.
I had it when I was 23, and I
Mhm.
was like, "Man."
Yeah.
So for you, right, at 17 and
Mhm.
in high school, senior in high school, that right there is just a wild ride. I'm sure that was not fun at all.
Yeah.
But through that relationship wasn't healthy. Through that,
Mhm.
the decision to abort, that took a toll on your soul and took a toll on who
Right.
you are. That is
Mhm.
something that a lot of people don't talk about, which we'll get into in
Right.
just a minute. But to continue to recap, like then you went through. I mean, actually, just a question. Like I'll walk through. Like that's something that a lot of people struggle with today, right? Let's
Yes.
say
Absolutely.
2026, right? Even back then, right? The 12 years ago or 10 years ago, right? That's still it's still a struggle. But like even today, when you have this pro-choice, you're pro this, you're pro
Mhm.
whatever it is, like from your experience, like what kind of consequences that have on a mother?
Let's say there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about who that baby would be, if that makes sense. Like I don't regret it anymore. And I will say that like my mom, she said that she kind of had this revelation. She has apologized to me. I will put that in there because she told me she was like, you should have never had to make an adult decision when you were still a baby. And she told me she was like, I'm going to be the one that has to answer to God for that, not you. So stop blaming yourself. This was on me. Because I did go to her and she was the only, person. And she was like, Maddie, oh no, like we can't do this. You have so much life ahead of you, whatever. But I think if I did have that baby, I would be walking a completely different road. I don't know what that
Sure.
road would have looked like, but I don't think that I would have been so like straight away from it. And it wasn't any of God's doing. Like God was not mad at me. It was more so me and the
Yeah.
enemy. I was like, you don't love me. Like if babies are a gift from God, like there's no way you still love me. Like I'm a murderer per se. But
Wow. That's a big doubt.
now it was a lot. It was a lot for me, like, when I say my soul was just completely, like, broken, and I never thought it would be like that, like, I was okay doing it, I was like,
Yeah.
"God," like, I was okay, but after that, just completely changed my what I thought of the church and what I thought of, like, who God was and all of these things, yeah, it really
Wow.
did do damage, it really did. It was a lot.
So it's something that sort of has lived with you since. And
Mhm.
it's not that you regret it. It's not that you even,
Mhm.
like beat yourself up about it. I mean,
Right.
you've already brought it to God, and I know that, and like you've already made repented for whatever
Mhm.
it is that you needed to. And so you're a different person today than you were then. But to people who think like, oh yeah, no, it's just a procedure. Just get it
Mhm.
done. What I'm hearing from you is it's not just a procedure. It's a
No.
lifelong decision.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
either
thought,
choose life or
that's how
don't.
it was gonna be. It was just gonna be, like, done and over, but like you said, it has been a lifelong decision, and I remember after I had, my first son, I was so angry at God. I was like, "Okay, this little boy loves me so much, and, like, you took this love from me." And I was just very confused. I was angry at my mom. I was angry at so many people because I was angry at the boy's dad because I was like, "You could have stood up and said, 'Don't do this.'" So there was, like, a lot of resentment there after I did become a mother and realize, like, wow. I could have had that and, maybe not have been walking this road or whatever. But like I
Yeah, I
said, I
mean, we
do
can't
believe
control the
that
path.
it had to happen. Yes, it had to.
But you've gone through quite a bit of a road. I mean, that's just one of it, right? That's just the
Yeah.
beginning. Like,
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
the beginning, right? But I think that there's clues in your road, and which sort of are like principles that people can take out of who are
Hmm.
watching this, or even yourself, right? Can
Yeah.
start to like identify like one, like the enemy was really after you, and I
Yeah.
think it's because one, you have a thriving and beautiful family, right?
Hmm.
Two, you are actively in the community spreading the
Hmm.
gospel, and also impacting people in ways that maybe you don't know right now, but in the future, I'm
Right.
sure God has a plan for you. And so,
Hmm.
like with the death of your grandparents, and then the fight in the church, right? What did that do? That separated that hurt your heart. And then
Hmm.
the only other place that you could have gone to was the church, which now
Right.
that was at odds, right? That was like having issues, right? And so these two things that were like your identity that were,
Hmm.
before Madison, before, were just stripped away at the same time.
Gone.
And that's when
Yeah.
all this happened,
Right.
right? It's very evident that the enemy attacked, and this is
Right.
what
It
the
was
fruit
it
of
was the
that.
perfect plot. It was a perfect plot for him. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so after that, right? So, you got out of the relationship, you made the choice to abort, which nobody's judging for that. I get it. Like as a
Right.
17-year-old girl, I get it. Trust me. I'm sure that's rough, regardless,
Yeah.
but you got past that. And now you're looking towards the brighter future, right?
Right.
But then, you get into another, relationship that was, it
Hmm.
sounds to me like not only did it, was it abuse? Well, let me ask you first. I already assume, but let me ask you is like, he was not a man of God, correct?
I'd say that.
Okay.
I just think that he had a lot of hurt. I think his dad passed
Okay.
away. His mom was never there. His grandma raised him. He just had a lot of issues.
Okay.
I don't think that it wasn't because his heart. I do believe he knows God because, like I said,
Yeah.
he is out of prison, happily remarried. He does do right
Right.
by his two oldest boys, but me and him together are like,
Okay. So maybe you just were not equally yoked in a way. Like you guys
right,
were not,
right,
yoked together in a way that could really mesh well back then. And hey, like prison changes people. I get it. Like I
right,
mean, life changes people, right? Hardships change people. And so today he's a different person than he was then. And all glory to God because, he's, helping to be a part of his children's life, which a lot of people
right.
decide not to. But you were part of an abusive relationship that led you to like having mixed feelings like with your faith, and maybe even like
Hmm.
led you down towards like drugs, like
Yeah,
and that led you towards like a deeper path, right? A
yeah,
deeper darkness where you mentioned a lot of times you're overdosing, not sure what's going on, like,
yeah,
and this is while you had children, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a
Um,
whole other level too.
Okay, so I want to add this. Everybody got stimulus money, right?
Yeah.
I will say I did not start doing like drugs, all that stuff until about 2020 when I was locked at home with. I think my second born son was like a month old. I just got kicked out of CNA school. So that's kind of like when it took all a turn for the worse. But during that time, I never got stimulus money because something happened and I never got it. Well, 2022 comes around when I'm like very, very, not in a good spot. I was supposed to get back $15,000. Okay. Um, and I didn't end up getting that money back. And I kind of just knew in my heart, like God had told me, I'm going to give you this money when you're ready. I'm not going to give you this money to go off and like kill yourself or just waste it. Like I'm going to give this to you when you are ready. So this was 2022. Okay, keep in mind.
Okay.
Let's fast forward to 2024. I'm clean and sober. I'm doing really well. I've been clean since November 7th of 2022. But this was about January of 2024, I believe. And me and Tyler were like at our wits' end. He has a season, right? His season is probably from like March to late October. This was January. This was the first winter essentially that we had to have a winter fund, and that winter fund was like gone. It was January, it was gone. So we had to pay my kids' school, my two oldest kids' school. That was very important. I think Tyler mentioned that in his podcast. Like we had to pay it we're very thankful for that. So, anyways, I was sitting there. He's like, I don't know how we're going to pay this. Like, I have no money coming. And there was like this small little voice in my head and mentioned, I haven't heard from God or seen God or anything like in at least a year or so. Like, I'm doing all this work, putting all this time, like seeking him, and hadn't heard nada. So I just heard this little voice in my head go, call the IRS. I'm like, I tried to call the IRS before, no luck. They like, I don't know what you're talking about, yada, yada, yada. Well, first, I called the IRS. This is like I think it was January, like early January. Let me also add that I was on Suboxone after rehab and stuff, and that's just medicine that like helps withdrawals and all of that stuff.
Sure.
I was on Suboxone, and I had decided, like me and God had decided that I was going to quit cold turkey and just stop taking it, and that's what I did. So I was like a week or two into those withdrawals, and it was just like this little voice saying, call the IRS. So I'm sitting in the living room. I'm on the phone. First of all, I get somebody on the phone in January. That's crazy. The phone rang once, I think, and there was somebody on the phone. He was like, yeah, what's your name? Yada, yada, yada. Let me check that for you. I'm like, okay, didn't think anything of it. I'd called before, and like I said, nothing happened. He gets back on the phone and he goes, ma'am, that money, this amount of money, I think it was like $15,832 or something. He was like, that was deposited on January 27th. This was like now maybe early February. If it wasn't early February, it was like definitely like almost February, but I believe it was early February. But tell me why that money was deposited the day that I stopped taking the Suboxone. And I didn't know it, because God hadn't revealed that to me yet. I didn't go check. The app was right there on my phone, but
Hmm.
I hadn't thought of it. But because I was ready, I think he was like, hey, here we go. So that's how we ended up buying my first car and all these other things. I think right after that time, I got baptized, and I think that completely changed my life because I got baptized when I was smaller, but so much has happened, right? But when I got baptized, I definitely think all the shame, all the regret, all of that just was gone, and I felt new. I could probably show you
Yeah.
the baptism picture and just say that was like not any of my own doing. Like I was in the water like dancing and like throwing up my hands, and the picture is god awful. But it really just is like a just of like my past. Like I was like, please God, like wash this away. Like I'm so sick of
Wow.
that. So yeah,
Wow. That's a beautiful,
yeah.
I mean, that right there is a testament of the power of God
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
the truth is, I mean, hey, like you should have got the money before, but you weren't ready for it. But you
No.
had the belief. That's the
Yeah.
amazing thing. Even through all this, you still had the
Yeah.
belief that God was with you. Even though
Right. Absolutely.
he didn't, you didn't hear him, right?
Right.
And they have that saying, and I'm sure you heard it, is like the, you know, the teacher doesn't speak when the people are being tested,
Right.
right? And so, like, when in the silence and the isolation and the solitude, right? When you don't
Mhm.
hear God's voice, it's like he wants you to lean on him more. And that's what you
Right.
did. You continued to
Right.
seek after him. Even if he didn't respond, you seeked
Right.
after him. And you know what? He blessed you for it. And he
He
gave
did.
it to you
Yes.
right as you needed it. Because like you just
Mhm.
said, the money was gone. Like the winter fund
Mhm.
was gone, right? You
Mhm.
needed the money. You needed the ability to support your family, to pay the kids'
Right.
school.
We didn't have a car at the time. I think the only car we had like no heating and air. I mean, or the Pathfinder, and Tyler was taking it to work, so I had no vehicle to go anywhere. Yeah, just like a crazy time. Just how even like how me and Tyler have grown in the last
I can
four,
see.
3 years. Yeah.
I mean, just from these stories, I mean, like,
Yeah.
I'm probably, I'm blessed. Thank you for
Yes.
sharing. I'm blessed because the truth is, like, not only do I get to hear your story today, but I heard your Tyler's story,
Yeah.
and that's something that I took away as well. Is like, he has gone through his own set of trials, tribulation, and testing and fortitude and forging to be the man he is. And because he went through that, he was a blessing to you when
Oh,
you needed that
absolutely.
to also help you sort of get on that right path. And then you have been a
Yes.
blessing to him. I mean, it's his blessings all around.
And it's crazy that we have grown up in the same area,
Yeah,
around the same groups of friends. I think we even like worked together in high school for like a short time, or like knew each other from like a
sure.
friend to friend, but we didn't meet until we were ready to meet. Because if we had met before, there's no telling, what would have happened. So
Yeah.
that's crazy to me that all along he has had like a part in that in a way. Yeah.
Man, I feel like I know you guys both. And I know both of you guys so well. I'm very thankful and honored to understand your story. So thank you. And that's beautiful to see how God's working through your life, especially even in the finances side of things
Mhm.
and the car and the ability to support. And He's provided for you regardless.
Yes.
Um, and so it's been your belief, it's been your consistent belief that He will provide. And I think that's something that a lot of people can take away is like, even if God's not, answering, or if you're not hearing His voice, that
Mm.
doesn't mean He's not there. And
Oh,
He is there. He's always with us. And so He will provide when it's His will to provide it,
right.
but He has everything to do.
Mhm.
It's up to us to get out of our
Mhm.
own way, to be the
Right.
person, to accept
Mhm.
and to receive the blessing.
Mhm.
That's what you did. And so through COVID and through when you got COVID and you were in rehab for 35 days, it's a long time to be in
35
rehab.
days the first time, and then I went back a second time for 30 days as well.
So 2 months, I'm over 2 months now. So
Right.
over 2 months in rehab where you had where what I found was interesting is this, and my question to you is when you were in the rehab and you got COVID and quarantined in rehab, so you're in rehab already quarantined from everybody else, and now
Mhm.
you're in rehab and quarantined from everybody in rehab. You said that you was just you and God, right?
Right.
Even though you didn't hear him.
Right.
My question to you was, you were talking to him. What were you
Yes.
talking to him about?
Really just that I was sorry. I was just like, I obviously can't do this on my own. Like I've sucked at it. I mean, look at the detrimental last 10 years where you're like, okay, go try. But just basically I just remember reading my Bible. I love Psalms and Proverbs. Psalms is like just the songs, I guess, and promises. And
Yeah,
Proverbs is more of like how you're supposed to live, if anybody
yeah,
wants to know that. So I remember doing that. I remember singing, like I would go sit on the steps even though I wasn't supposed to. I was supposed to be like quarantined in my room. I was not quarantined in my room. Nobody was up there with me though. So I was just. But yeah, I would go sing the worship music and all of that stuff. And like I said, I was just seeking him because even when he isn't silent, or even when he is silent, it is still our job to seek, I guess. And I had known God, and I remember my counselor at rehab. I was like all these things, and she was like, Madison, he's never gone away. Like you are the one who walked away. Like God is still there. And so I very much knew that. I was like, okay, like here I am, Lord. Please. But I still had things to learn after that fact because, like I said, I still went out and did it again. And that's kind of when I realized that, like, it wasn't me, that there had to be something bigger in the future because what is the enemy trying to like why do you not want me to live and be happy so bad? So at that point I knew that it wasn't like it was no longer me, it was a spiritual battle, really. And it had been all my life. Like he'd been after me my whole entire life. Yeah.
yeah. No, and that's what we face. When we have a high
Yeah.
calling on our life, there's also a high target on our life from
Right?
the enemy.
Yeah.
Even if we don't know what that calling is, right?
Hmm.
But it sounds to me like, and we just started like from high school, but I'm sure like before that, there's probably a bunch of other things going on. But
Good childhood, I think.
okay,
Besides, like, my maternal grandparents being in prison, and let me say that my papa, he has an amazing testimony himself, but he's
beautiful,
a great man of God and ended up preaching in prison and, like, all these things.
beautiful.
So, even in those moments, God was still with us, and I can attest to that.
I
But
love it.
other than that, like, I had an okay childhood, but the second that I decided to step out of God's will, I think that was like, okay, the enemy was like, "This is my perfect opportunity." And also, I think at the same time, he was like testing me, like, don't
Mhm.
you want to have fun? Like, don't you want to be a normal teenager? Don't you want to like do all the things that your friends are doing? Like, you're not getting fulfilled. Like, this will fulfill you. So I can look back and see that now. But then I was just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, like you gone through a lot, and
Hmm.
but that's amazing to see that your family also has come to Christ. It's like their testimonies are growing seeds for generations.
Right.
And that's the
Right.
interesting thing. I actually went to a men's group today and we talked about, generational curses, but there's
Hmm.
also generational blessings. It
Yeah.
goes both ways. So if you're, I think you called him Pop Pop. If your grandfather, was saved and now like saving others and like blessing others, and those are some spiritual seeds that he's planting
Right.
that is, passed on through just interaction and
Mhm.
impressions, or to the genes as well. So it's super, super amazing to see that that is happening, and super, super awesome to see that Tyler has been helpful for your rehab journey too. And so after you got out of rehab, you met Tyler, and then once then you got pregnant again.
Mhm.
It's been a nonstop, and then
Yeah.
overdose. And I mean, it just keeps going,
Yeah.
overdosing, and then you're questioning God. You're a little bit angry at God, like what's going
Yeah.
on? Like I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on. Like let me ask you, did he answer you?
I mean, I will say that with the whole Tyler situation, when we were going through all of these things, and I was praying because my mom always told me from like a very young age, like pray for your husband. And so I had been, all of these years, even leading up to Tyler. So I remember like asking, if this is your will, like things have to change because I know that you don't want me to be miserable and all these other things. But to this day, my only revelation that I have of all those things happening is I would still just have this like misconception of God and who he is because he's not, I don't know, he's not hellfire and brimstone. Like he's not out to get you. But I do think that we have to go through things. Even Jesus had to go through things. I think it's important that we have to like pick up our cross. And when you like truly and 100% like are willing to surrender your life to God and pick up that cross, you have to go through a lot of things. I mean, in order to, I guess, mold you into the person that he wants you to be. So, had I not gone through those things, I don't think that I would even be sitting here today. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know.
I I mean, the truth is, like, let me help you, maybe a compliment anyway. Yes, I agree with you. We have to go through things, and hey, the stronger you are, the stronger the
Mhm.
fall. The bigger
Yeah.
the fall, the harder it is to fall. So that means these things have to really rock you to your bones, really, really
Hmm.
rock you. And hey, Jesus is there for the brokenhearted. Like,
Hmm.
if you really think about it, like, he is there. I think it was in Matthew. Come to me, all you who are weary, for he will give you rest. For his yoke
Hmm.
is easy and his burden is light. Right.
Yeah.
So, he's there for us to go to him. But to your point, yeah, like you have to go through these things because what they do is it's the testing and the perseverance and the testing of your faith that is making you stronger in your faith with God. And so when you got the right relationship, when you got the right, like heart posture for God, it sounds like
Hmm.
all these things in the past has already broken you down so that you're no resistance. Like it's like, no,
Right.
Jesus, please take the
Yeah.
wheel.
Yeah.
Take
For
the wheel
sure.
because I know I can't do it.
Yeah.
Please take the wheel. So you're like openly going after him, and I think that's
Hmm.
a beautiful thing because he is there to support and provide for you, and it's evident that he's already doing that. And so
Absolutely.
to be in the seat right now, just telling your testimony, trust me, I know not everyone's even willing to come on this podcast.
Yeah.
I know for a fact. People say, nope, no way, Jose. But at the same time, the funny thing is this, like, I don't actually seek people to go get on the podcast.
Mhm.
I just am open. I'm just
Right.
naturally just going out there, just talking to
Mhm.
people, and they see who I am, they see what I do, and they want to be on the podcast. And those are
Right.
the guests. I mean, that's why you are here today. You
Hmm.
wanted to be here, and I think that
Right.
I'm blessed to have you here because I know that everyone who does come on this podcast, everyone who does, tell their testimony about how God is working in their life and in their business, they are truly walking with the Lord. And
Hmm.
usually, when you're truly walking with the Lord, there is a huge story behind that. There is a
Oh yeah.
huge like testimony behind that. And you're telling it here today. I mean, so
Mhm.
so you should feel, encouraged that you
Mhm.
are walking, with the Lord,
Yeah.
even though all these things that would literally rock people to their bones. Like I don't even
Mhm.
know. Some people, some women or some men even, like they could not go through that. I'm sure,
Mhm.
like not without Christ. And so, but yeah, I mean, you've been after that, like after you met Tyler and you heard God, you experience his love, you experience his free will of choice, you experience him, him showing you the true nature of him and
Mhm.
a relationship with Christ, not that fire and brimstone. You're going to hell. Repent or go, repent and but hey, repentance is good. I'm not saying don't
Yes.
repent. The truth is repentance is changing your mind of your old behaviors so that you can be more walking in righteousness with
Right.
Christ. And hey, we're not perfect. We will fall. And when we do fall, you have two choices. You get up or you don't. But
Right.
the righteous will fall and get up and keep
Yeah.
getting up and keep getting up. And that is what you've done, Madison. You've done an amazing job. Just keep getting up throughout all of this. And then, not to I mean, even and as I continue to walk down, like even the postpartum, right? When you had
Hmm.
Lainey, your most recent daughter, your postpartum, I mean, that's a whole nother thing too. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of women, struggle with that. I mean, is that something you struggled with as well?
Um, I will say yes. I mean, the first two probably definitely a lot more than my last two, but I mean, when you're at home alone and, I mean, it's hard. It really is. And hormones are a crazy thing. So I would say
I
yes,
get it.
like I have struggled but I also know who God is. So I don't know. You can kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, it sounds like your relationship's getting stronger with the Christ, with God, with the Lord. And that
Hmm.
right there is making all of these struggles that are intense become
Hmm.
less intense because
Right.
you're walking with the creator, you're walking with Jesus. And that's
Hmm.
the beautiful thing that you're doing. And so he's built you to a point. All this to say, all this things and all these overdoses and all these like relationships, all these like situations, you getting arrested,
Hmm.
rehab. I mean, you've gone through it, you've gone through
Yeah.
the ringer, you've gone through the fire. There is zero doubts that you've gone through the fire, right? You have absolutely gone through the fire. But you know what happens when you go through the fire and you survive? You go
Hmm.
through the fire, you survive, and you be built up in a way that is impenetrable. You built
Right.
up and forged under pressure, and that's how diamonds are made.
Hmm.
That's how God can truly mold you into the person who you are meant to be. And you know
Right.
what? This is where your business comes into place, right? You're
Mhm.
literally doing Laney and Maddie Co. Your
Yes.
business is going from 0 to 1,500 followers. And how long? How long was that?
I think I had my first show in like September.
September. So like
Yeah.
6 months almost. A little around 6 months, half of a year, not even a full
Yeah.
year, right? And I guess, are you willing to share like revenue amounts, like, or
Let's say that I have not had a show where I haven't made less than $300. And I'm only on for like an hour at a time. My rack right now can only fit about 20 items. If that helps any. Yeah. I haven't had a show where honestly I haven't made about $300, which isn't crazy, but I mean at the same time, if I was on there every single day and making that, that's ridiculous. But right now it kind of just helps with like house things and all this stuff. And we are moving and we close on our house Thursday. That's like a gift from God in itself. But
yeah,
we have two like detached garages. So I plan to have like an actual room and I plan to actually do it full time when we move. So hopefully it grows exponentially and I'm able to bless more people because of that
wow.
revenue.
Hey, it's without a doubt, right? It's
Yeah.
without a doubt, like, I mean, there's nothing that could stop you, right?
Yeah. Really.
Like
Bring it on.
you've gone through it all. Like, what could stop you? Like, what could possibly come that would actually stop you from doing the thing that God has called you to do?
Nothing right now. I mean, I really don't know. And I think even if there was something that comes along, I still know who he is and like what he said and what he's promised me. So that
There
is
you
all
go.
that matters.
There you go. No matter what
Like the
comes,
the
right?
enemy can't trick me again, if that makes sense. Like,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, the tricks only work once.
Right.
Absolutely. The tricks only work once. And so it's like in the Bible, no weapon formed against us shall prosper.
Right.
That doesn't mean that weapons will not form against us.
Yeah. I
That
mean,
means
because
that,
I will say, through all of the jail stuff, I I should have been in prison, right? Allegedly. But like I said, I think my grandmother and my grandparents broke that generational curse and that's
Mhm.
why I wasn't. But I still am like on 5 years unsupervised probation. I haven't gotten in any trouble. I actually got to send in a petition in December to get off early. So I've done about 2.5 years. And the thing was you have to do 2.5 years without getting in trouble. I haven't heard anything back yet, but hopefully soon they're like, hey, yeah, um, but that's really cool too. Yeah,
it's his favor. I mean, that's what
yeah,
it is. And people have said it to me and the things that we're doing, and like, and I'm like, maybe, maybe not. Like, but the truth is, it is all God, right? It
Yeah.
is his plan. And so, like, yes, it is favor, the more you think about it, like, okay, well, you've gone through the trials, you've gone through the trial of fire, you've gone through the testing of faith. Your faith
Mhm.
has been tested like none other. You're still
Over.
today, you're still today stronger in your faith than you ever were.
Mhm.
And now you are getting blessed in your business. You're getting,
Mhm.
with an opportunity to make money for your family when in time of
Right.
need. You're praying, you're praying, and we'll get into that in a minute, but you're doing all these things, and like the legal stuff is getting sort of potentially worked out in a way that's in
Mhm.
your favor,
Mhm.
because of your actions and because of the fruit that you're bearing is
Right.
and you have a beautiful family. I mean, you have multiple
Yes, thank you.
multiple children, they're all healthy, and you're
Mhm.
moving along, and you're able to travel, you're able to do these things. I mean, like, hey, I'm blessed to know you guys. Like, truth is, like, I'm all
Right.
the way out here in Florida, you're all the way in the Mississippi. I mean, like,
Right.
that's a God thing, 100%,
Yes.
100%. So, you're being blessed in ways that, you know, you've gone through it.
They
You've
don't
gone
make
through it.
sense.
They don't make sense. Absolutely, absolutely. One thing that let me ask you, like, you said your family or your mother told you to pray for your husband, and that's something that we
Mhm.
actually talked about in the last episode with
Yeah.
Tyler. That you are his prayer warrior, and you
Yeah.
are the prayer warrior for the family. And so
Mhm.
he's literally, I mean, if anybody wants to watch, like, he's literally admitted that on the podcast,
Yeah.
that you are the prayer warrior, and it's because of your prayers that he is where he is, and that your family is where they are.
Mhm.
Tell me more about that. Like, what are your thoughts, and what is your perspective on that?
So my mom is a very amazing woman in my life. I love her to death. And she is very much a woman of God, filled with the Holy Spirit. I love her. She says also that her grandmother, not like her real mom, but her grandmother, my grandfather was a preacher actually, like my great grandfather. And she said that she was the only one on the front row of Baptist church, raising her hands and filled with the Holy Spirit. So my mom has kind of always been that spiritual person in my life. And she's always been the one to say, like, hey, if you want something, you ask God for it. And she told me from very little, she's like, Maddie, you're pretty. You have all of these things. You need to make sure you're not like the talk of the locker room because all these boys are going to try to come to you and whatever. So she told me, she was like, pray for your husband and pray for how you want him to be and like all these things. So that's what I did. I mean, I was probably, I don't know, 9. And God says you can pray for like what you want them to look like. That's insane. But really you can and he will abide. Like I'm living proof of that. He will provide. Yeah. And I do pray a lot. I do think that it does work. I'm living proof of that. And it's something, it's a tool that we have that we need to utilize more. And I will say that when I do pray out loud, I just thank God for what he has done. I will never mention like things that I need out loud, if that makes sense. I always say them in my heart because I do feel like the enemy can
Mhm.
take things that you say out loud and like turn them, I don't know.
Right.
So I make sure that when I'm like praising God, I thank him for what he has done, what he will do, and what he's doing right now. That's very important. So,
Wow.
yeah, I guess it just looked like me saying, hey, God, I know that I want to be married one day. Like, can you make him look like this? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's just your belief. That's the thing.
Right.
And that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand is, like,
Hmm.
this game we're playing, this game of life and the
Hmm.
spiritual world, the spiritual beings that we are living in this world of a physical world, right?
Hmm.
Prayer is something that is so important. It's like the energy source that we get being spiritual to be connected to our Father in heaven,
Hmm.
and for him to provide and to guide us, and for us to petition through the Holy Spirit, the things that we must, we ask for, or not even just asking, just to praise him. I mean, just like,
Right.
just the fact is, like, we're here today talking about this stuff, and
Hmm.
where two or three people come together in his name, he's also there with
Right.
us. Right. And so God is with us at all times, and prayer is super, super, super important. But I
Hmm.
think that, to your point, right? Just believing is the
Hmm.
first step. One,
Oh, yeah.
and praying in belief and praying in faith is
Hmm.
key. And so you've definitely come a long way, Madison. I mean, I don't know you as a
Yeah.
child. I don't know you how you were, but I will say that from your story here today, you've gone through so much to be the
Hmm.
person you are here today, and you have a new budding business that's
Mhm.
sprouting up from, from God's will, that are
Yes.
things are happening. I mean, like, he led you to this thing, and not everyone's being led to whatnot,
Right.
but he led you there, and you're doing this
Right.
thing, and you're actively, and you're enjoying it. That's the thing that
Yes.
I love to see it. Like, I love to see that you're passionate about it, you're enjoying it. I mean, I think I
Mhm.
see some of the Facebook posts is like you're
Right.
literally there posting and super excited and super joyful. And that right there is the fruit of the spirit. This
Right.
fruit, the joy, the kindness, and the love that's coming out without you, like outward from you,
Well, thank you.
from the heart, I think is
Mhm.
beautiful. It's beautiful to see
Thank
it,
you.
especially in the business community. You're welcome. And so my last question is, what's next? Right. So do you know what you feel like? I know the house is on the horizon, but
Mhm.
for your business, and even for yourself as a wife and a mother, like, what is your focus over the next like few years? Do you know?
So I do remember when I was very little, God gave me a vision, and I don't think that we have even scratched the surface on that vision yet. But I do believe that this is just like a stepping stone to where He wants to take me and Tyler. So
Mhm.
I don't know. Like I said, I think we've just scratched the surface. I don't know. Hopefully, within 5 years, I will be like one of the top people on there, and I will have
Let's go.
employees and all these things. I do want to help mothers who are sad and alone at home. There's so many things that I don't know. Really, I just don't want people to ever feel like I felt in those moments,
There you go.
because it was hard. So if I can help anybody in any way, be like, there is a way out. Like, God does not hate you. It's not hellfire and brimstone. It's not a bunch of rules and regulations. You don't have to be perfect. In fact, be the complete opposite of that. And He will use you. Then that's what I want to do. Yeah.
Wow. Well, hey, this by you being on this podcast is the very first step. I would say,
Mhm.
at least what I could do right now for it to help you with that, right? It's the very first step is because you have a testimony, you have a story, you have an experience that not everyone has, but yet
Mhm.
you can relate to people that not everyone can relate to them. And you can help them in the dire needs, in the areas and the places that people need help in that moment. And I think
Mhm.
that that right there is a beautiful cause, that it sounds to me like, this is potentially a stepping stone to even helping more people. But
Right.
something that I understand in the God's kingdom here on earth is we are entrepreneurs, right? And I look at entrepreneurs like kingdom builders, because we
Mhm.
are building God's kingdom in the marketplace. We're serving
Mhm.
people, we're helping, and we're providing the joy of the Lord through our business. But at the same time, in the Bible, there's been many times where God uses entrepreneurs and people who are in the
Mhm.
marketplace to fund the ministry, to provide resources to the ministry. And so we must be provided by our Father in heaven so that we can provide to others.
Mhm.
And so you're on the right track.
Yep.
Absolutely, 100%. Without a doubt. I'm sure that God has many, many plans for you in the future. Just keep following the path, man. That's super
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So, do you have any other thoughts or any other things that you feel like we should provide anyone here who's maybe watching? Do you have any advice for someone who could do that?
I do wanna say through all of that too, I never felt like I fit in anywhere. I didn't fit in at the church. Like, I loved the church and who those people
Mm.
were, but I just didn't feel like I belonged, and I've never been, like, anyone's favorite friend, whatever you say, but, I do know that God loves me and that maybe I like to think that I'm one of His favorites. I don't think He has favorites, I don't know, but,
Well, I think he
He's
does.
just always been my friend?
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
if I have any advice, is just even if you don't feel like he's listening, just continue to seek him. I mean, he's gonna have to show up eventually. He promises us that. So
Mm, that's
yeah.
right. Believe the Father, believe God, because He is truth.
Hmm.
And to your point, you don't have to be following everybody. Actually, believe it or not, Jesus came to separate us.
Hmm.
And he will come to separate the wheats from the tares,
Right.
right? We are set apart. So we are not meant to fit in. We are not meant
Right.
to follow everyone. We're meant to follow him. And there's
Hmm.
not everyone. I mean, hey, I understand that we want to get everyone to Christ, but not everyone will.
Right.
We're living in this world that's so wicked in a way, but
Hmm.
to your point, right? You don't have to fit in. You don't have to be like perfect, the perfect Christian.
Right.
Don't come to Jesus perfect. Come to
Mhm.
Jesus as you are, and he will
Right.
perfect you in
Right.
the ways that he can. So that's cool. Do you agree? Or is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I 100% agree. I do think that he's there for the desperate and the hungry, and he does want to set us apart. So I think it is very important to just break that mold and be I've always known that I was different and all these things, but looking back, I think it was just really like that's not what I was supposed to be doing. I don't know. It was very much God and I know that. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. Well,
Yeah.
we have your whole testimony here. It's
Mhm.
this is one to like watch back and back back, back to back to back because there's so many things that you could learn. I mean, I've learned
Mhm.
so much. I'm gonna 100% watch this
Thank you.
back because you've gone through so much, and I'm sure that
Mhm.
if anybody has any questions, I'm sure they can comment down below. But at the same time, how can
Yes.
somebody reach out, or how can somebody like get in touch with you, watch what you're doing, see what you're doing, follow you?
The Facebook, add me on Facebook, of course. My Whatnot account is at MADILAURANN. It's at Maddie Lorian. That's my middle name. My Facebook is Madison Lorian. And me and Tyler are working on a website for Lainey and Maddie Co. So when that happens, I can let people know it's in the works. I'm trying. It's been
Nice.
very
Okay.
busy because of the house and moving, and we haven't even packed, but it's all good. We're good.
I get. Hey, we're always good. We have Jesus. I love it.
Yes.
So just provide me those links. I'll put that down in the description for anybody who wants to access those. But is there any last thoughts before we close out today?
Don't think so.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you all for watching the God's Whisper podcast. We release an episode every week. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like the episode, comment down below so Madison can see your questions, see your thoughts, and we will catch you in the next episode. Stay blessed by the best. Talk to you later.